And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, here we are again. It is the Weighing In podcast where my man, the real punk, Josh Thomson, and I are going to talk about all things MMA. We're going to talk about the UFC that happened. We're going to talk about bare knuckle boxing. And the man, the myth, the legend, the platinum one, Mike Perry, getting it done in 1 minute's time. Josh, did you watch everything like I did?
I absolutely did, but I think for a second there, George thought you were going to say him after you said the man, the myth, the legend. He got all excited and all pumped and everything. And then you said Mike Perry, and he goes, you just saw his face go deflated.
Like, oh. I'm sorry, George.
But hey, man,
you're a legend. You're a legend unto yourself. Also.
Let's go, you guys. Look, it was a great weekend. Like the UFC fights were good. You know, there was some good standout fights in that one. But man, I think the BKFC stole the weekend. There was some great fights on there, knockdown, dragouts, and I got to be honest, man, BKFC's got something brewing, baby. Got something brewing. I'm excited about it. And
yeah, they got something brewing. They got a guy named Conor McGregor who's now part owner in it.
Good for him, man. I mean, I don't know if there's any money in on his part, but I mean, you know, hey, using the name, using the reps, all that stuff, good for him. I love the direction of BKFC. I said this almost over a year and a half ago, John. You and I were talking. I said, man, the one thing that really
you have stood behind it. I give you credit.
Yes, I wish I could invest in it now. Like it's probably too late now. It's too rich for my blood. I should have.
Time has passed.
I should have invested in it a long time ago. But it's a good man. It's something fun. It really is. I enjoy watching it. The rounds are not too long. People getting beat the shit out of. I don't know. It's a great sport, man. I'm really enjoying it. When it first came out, I was like, I don't know, because remember there was the one with like the gloves that had the exposed knuckles.
Yeah,
I was like, this seems a little cheesy, but
that was bullshit.
Yeah, but then now they have the ones where you just tape your knuckles like they are doing now with BKFC. I love it. I love everything about it.
The wrist, no knuckles.
No,
below. It's on the wrist, thumb wrist.
Yes, thumb and wrist. It's above the knuckles, I should say, where they just wrap the hand. You know, and they do the best you can to keep it wrapped. Now, can they use gauze underneath that tape?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was just tape.
No.
All right.
Look, it doesn't matter how much gauze you put. No matter if it's boxing, MMA, or bare knuckle, gauze does not make a hand harder. Tape makes it harder.
I mean, a little bit of plaster will help make it harder too, but
just a little bit,
just a tiny bit,
just a little.
Let's see what we can do to get there. But you know, before
we were trying to go with the stuff that was legal here, Josh.
Okay. So Margarita never got that note. He never got that note.
Those little inserts.
Oh, those aren't meant to be there.
Capatillo did not put those in
it's
there.
so weird, man. It's so weird. Hey, John, I feel like you're a little off center. What's going on with your camera, buddy?
I don't know. How's that? I can move myself anywhere because...
George, is he out? There we go. A little bit more like that. I got to get that logo in that background. There we go. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, I can get it.
There you go, buddy. Like that.
Centered up, baby.
All right, George, you're going to have to start doing your job, buddy. You got to start doing your job.
I mean, really, George? You didn't say, John, you're freaking unbalanced.
Well, you know what it is, right?
Which I would have thought you were talking about mentally, and I'd say you.
No, I'm over here trying to save him more time in the editing area later on. He's like, I don't care, I'll fix it. Don't worry about it.
Fix it, man.
It's all right.
That's how good he is.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done the formal, not even so much formal introduction, but George Harris. Everyone knows George. What do they know you as, George?
I'm Keto George.
George.
I have some time in the thick boy experience. Yeah. I've been around a little bit. Started off as an intern.
Yeah. Okay.
Came out here.
Yeah.
Lost a bunch of weight. Used to be 450 pounds.
Damn, really? Hold on. See, I didn't know that. Yeah. George, you were 450?
I was a big boy.
Big boy.
That is a big boy. How tall are you, George?
I'm 5'11".
Damn, you were thick boy.
Yes, he was. That's why he went to thick boy.
He went to thick boys.
Damn.
All right.
Damn, Daniel. Back at it again with them Vans. Yeah. Holy shit. Woo.
I like that.
But hey, then I saw, you lost a lot of weight during that one.
Bro. Josh, he lost a human being.
Yes.
A big human being.
Of them. A couple of them. I mean, you could fit 6 kids in that. Oh man, good. But dude, good for you,
George.
What was the driving force behind losing all that weight?
when COVID hit, I was stuck inside and I just felt fucking stagnant. I just felt gross and stagnant. So I just started with diet. I was watching podcasts a ton. I was watching a lot of Brendan Schaub. I was just focused. I didn't have anything else.
Before you go any farther, what was it that led you to listen to Brendan?
MMA content. No, yeah, I did work there for a while.
Okay, so hold it. You were not listening to Brendan before.
I was.
Yeah, he was.
You were. Okay.
So I was a big Brendan fan. He posted MMA content almost daily. He posted a lot of content. Yeah. So during Corona, I didn't have anything else to do but sit and just take it all in, just absorb it all. And then I started watching MMA, and that led into me actually, like, one of my first steps into working out was just going to punch a heavy bag just one day a week. Just have fun. Just try to make it as enjoyable as possible. I went from that to watching every single fight card. I was always a WWE fan, so fake fighting. Yeah. So I love that.
At least you can admit it. Podcast Dave still believes that shit is real.
It's real to me, damn it.
It's real to me.
Exactly. That's still real to me.
Oh, man.
They sit there and tell you, they to your face, this is sports entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's
the
real
best
to
part.
me, right?
It's the best part that it's fake and stupid as hell. If that was real fighting, then I wouldn't want to be a man. I'd be like, all right, what's happening here?
Hey, the one thing I always say, and I've known a lot of big time. Look, they take hard bumps, man. Those dudes, there's some things that they do, and then I watch these kids on the outside wanting to be like them, and the stupid shit they do. It's like, man, at least the professional wrestlers have things set up to kind of help them a lot more than just the table.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, it's crazy what
it's a sweet science. It really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a skill. It's being a stuntman.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd ever want to get thrown through a table or have a fucking aluminum chair hit across my head. I don't give a shit.
Would you take a chair or a Tony Ferguson elbow?
Oh, I would take I'd take the chair, man. Tony Ferguson elbows left me fucking balding up here in the top right now.
The reason that Josh would take the chair is he thinks that the chair would not remove his hairline like
this
Tony's
is very
elbow did.
true. This is very true.
We saw what happened with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's hair disappeared after wrestling.
Oh, I don't doubt it, man. It's all the cuts, man. All the little tiny cuts. I didn't have a lot of cuts throughout my career. I had more cuts when I was a kid, falling off of bikes and shit, stitches in my head. I had all that. And then I get to the Tony Ferguson fight. It's the only fight I ever really got severely cut. I had a small cut right here on my head, I think, from Bobby Green. Maybe it was Jay-Z Cavalcante, one of those guys. Anyways, I had a small cut here on the side of my head, but I think that was probably pretty much. And then Clay Guida cut me here below the eye.
Have you ever seen the forehead on an old wrestler?
Oh,
no,
like
I mean,
Abdullah
old
the Butcher.
wrestler?
Yeah, the old school wrestlers.
Old school. Dude, I used to powerlifted for a lot of time. And one of the guys that was the guy that helped me with powerlifting was a guy named Terry McCormick. He was a world record holder in the deadlift in the 275-pound class at the time. And he was friends with a guy that, when I was a kid, I liked professional wrestling. My dad would always turn it off. But I loved superstar Billy Graham. I thought he was just the fucking coolest. Because he was the pioneer of the Hulk Hogan character.
Yeah.
Right? And his name was Wayne Coleman. Well, Terry was friends with Wayne Coleman. Right? He says, John, I'm going to go with Wayne. And so I was like, really? Superstar Billy Graham? Right? And he says, you want to come? Yeah. I go. It was like being there with two people. It was like Sybil, because he was Wayne, and as soon as someone recognized him, he would go into superstar.
Ah, his shtick.
And oh my God, it was worse than being with Chael Sonnen.
Nah. Oh, jeez.
And but his forehead, dude. I mean, it looked like a roadmap of scars from him cutting himself with the little razors they would hide in their things and stuff, man. It's like, jeez, it's not an easy life.
It doesn't sound easy. And I think especially back in those days, what was that, 1960 when you were talking about it? That's probably like maybe 50s.
I was watching in the 70s. That was the 70s, actually. 70s and 80s.
I was the 80s also. Big John Studd, obviously.
Big John Studd, yeah, baby.
Yeah, Paul Orndorff, the DDT.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Paul Orndorff was put together like a brick shit.
All those guys, man. They were fucking my all-time favorites. I used to try and stay up. I remember crying one time.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. I remember crying because I couldn't stay awake until midnight on a Saturday night because I fell asleep one time. I saw the commercial right before it went on, and then the last commercial I fell asleep.
All you saw was the lines on the TV after you woke up.
I woke up in the morning and I was like crying. I was like, oh man, I miss it. My parents were trying to keep me awake. My dad was trying to shake me to keep me awake, and he's like, I couldn't wake you back up. I said, I'm so sorry, but man, I tried every Saturday night to try to watch it. I couldn't stay awake, man. But hey, we have some big cards to talk about this week, this past weekend, and so we're gonna go ahead and get into that. But before we get into that, man, John's got some big news. Big John McCarthy, you got another one of your clinics coming up, my man. What's up? Talk to me, Goose.
I used to put on these courses all the time, especially when I had my gym, and then it was I'll relegate it to doing it, every now and then, and I would always go and use Randy Couture's gym at Extreme Couture to do it, because Vegas was a good place to go to. And then COVID hit, and I canceled everything and never did one again. And so I've had just a shit ton of people saying, man, you got to do a course. You got to do it. So finally, I'm going to do a course. It's going to be July 26th to the 28th, 26th, 27th, 28th. It's a 3-day course. So for all those people that are out there that, you know what, you could do just an amazing job as an MMA official because you've been watching it, and I know I'm so good. Hey, this is your chance to really find out how good you can be. You'll learn everything that you will actually need to know as far as officiating and what's the criterias and what's the rules, and you're going to have to know it all. You're going to have to know every goddamn submission there is. I'm just telling you, it is not an easy thing to pass. I do not make it easy because I don't believe that, the fighters deserve anything but the best. But look, I've had a ton of people come through my course. I've had, people that I've allowed to come through that are reporters and things like that have sat through it. I've had guys that, Frank Trigg did it when he was commentating so he could, be better with his commentating, and he became an official. And that was after I failed him multiple times. But that's just, I don't just pass people. I don't care who you are, because I truly believe it is something that not everybody's made for. I do know that, you have a huge just part of other people's lives and their livelihoods, and you got to do the right thing, and you got to be able to know what to do at the right time. And I take a whole lot of credence in that. So like I said, it's 90% on every test that you take. There will be 6 of those, and it doesn't mean a combined 90%. It's 90% or better on all of them. But if you think that you have what it takes and you want to know, or you just want to learn exactly what officials should be doing, and you can watch at home, go to MMAreferee.com, and you can look at what's on the course, and you can sign up for it if you want. It's limited as far as the seats because I can't put that many people in Randy's gym, because it is at Extreme Couture again, because I rent out his gym just because they treat me good, and they put up with our shit because we take over a lot of space in that thing. So, but any questions about it, you can ask me that. But,
I have questions.
That's really what we got going.
I have questions. So if you take the course and then you say you pass, then what happens after that?
Normally, generally, usually, when you pass, it depends on where you're from. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because it can't be the same for everyone. But we'll say that you live in California. If you live in California and you pass the course, then your name will go to CAMO, which is the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization, and they will actually start to give you assignments. Now, we're going to teach you how to do everything, including be an inspector in the back, because I want you to know exactly what the inspector should be doing and how they should be doing it. And you're going to start off with CAMO, and they're probably going to put you in as an inspector role in the first time that you ever do anything. But eventually, they will start putting you into either that judge's seat or put you into the cage as the referee when things are, the right time and place for you, and you'll start working as an official, and you'll go through that. And before you can, and there's different criteria for signing up to be a professional referee or professional judge in California. You've got to do so many fights within the CAMO organization. You obviously have to get good ratings from the people that are in charge of CAMO. But if you're in California, that's one way of doing it. If you're in Canada, there's other things that occur. But everyone, when you look at it, they're always, all of these regulatory bodies, Josh, they're always looking for what they call a certification. And one of the things that they know about mine is I just don't certify anybody. and you can look, who's your favorite referees? Mike Beltran came through my course. Okay. And so just too many I can start to name here, that everybody has seen, and they know that they've done, world title fights in the UFC, Bellator, PFL, all these things. It's a matter of you want to be able to put out information that allows there to be no doubt. And there's always going to be doubt, but it's a matter of when someone, well, what about this? You got to have the answers, and luckily so far I've had those answers.
So what about like somewhere in like,
we're waiting for the one.
What about like somewhere in Texas? Like if I went and did the certification through you, and of course I would pass because I know all the rules. But if you guys didn't pick up on that sarcasm, I'm being very sarcastic because fighters themselves have no idea. You see it all the time. They're looking to see what the ref's going to say. Like, okay, is the guy going to get disqualified? Oh yeah, I'm really hurt now. I'm really hurt. If he gets disqualified, I'm going to get my win money. Oh man, I can't see. Fight's over, right? I win. I've heard fighters say that on national television. So if I can't continue, do I win?
So if I can't continue, do I win?
Yeah,
yes.
That's exactly what they've asked. So,
but then again, I've seen referees go and answer it for him. It's like, what are you doing?
Let's just figure this out. Let's see.
These are all the things that you got to learn.
Can you fight? But what about Texas? Would they start calling me though once I pass the certification? Would they start calling me and saying, "Hey, we have some MMA stuff for you to do"? Not like it's
they have an amateur program for you to go, and you can start working with the ISKA. Remember Corey Schaefer? Corey Schaefer, who runs the ISKA. If you get certified by me, he will use you in the ISKA and start giving you assignments so you can start to build your base as an official, start to learn things, start to get that repetitions behind you, so become more and more comfortable with what you're doing. And eventually you get enough of those and you get someone like Corey behind you saying, look, Josh Thomson, not only was he a great fighter, he's been doing a fantastic job for the ISKA. Now you can go to the Texas licensing department, since it's called the TLDR in Texas, which is their athletic commission. And you can go there and apply for that license. And now you have at least verification behind you that you not only have been taking courses and learning, and you've put yourself out with different organizations as an official. You've done this many fights. You've done over 250 fights at this point in your career, and you want to move on to the professional ranks, and this is your chance.
So you would have to do 250 fights though, somewhere around there before?
It depends. Yeah, it's normally around 200.
Which is so weird.
It's a lot.
Which is so weird because like Texas got some of the worst officiating, and I'm wondering if these guys have ever done.
No, come on. They've got some very good officials, and they have some that maybe need a little bit more work. But guys, look.
That one guy got choked out 3 times and got his arm broke.
I'm not saying anything about him, okay? Jacob Montalvo, though.
Yes.
And this is what and this is the hard part when you took this brush and you just painted.
I did.
And you got guys like Jacob Montalvo, Kerry Hatley, who who's been doing it forever.
I love Kerry.
Great. Just an outstanding official, great guy. And so, these are the guys, but Kerry came through my, and did training with me. Kerry actually almost died after being at my gym.
What?
Because he got what the hell? He got this thing. It was I don't want to say it was a kidney stone. It was worse. It was way worse. But he almost, he almost went tits up, man. They had to put him in the hospital.
What the hell?
So, yeah. So, sorry for telling that story.
Oh man. So then I would now when you get certified through the state after you've done your 250 camos or whatever it is, or your amateur shows or fights, then do you have to take like a test, or is it just you just go in and apply for your certification and they pass you?
No, what it's going to be, you're going to present to them, boom, here's my experience. So, first off for you, you're going to say, hey, I fought for over 20 years. I attained the title of world champion with Strikeforce. I did this, I did that. Then after retirement, I started doing commentating and stuff, but I really decided, I want to take the route of the officials. And so this is what I did. And so what they're going to do is they're going to put you before the commission. And, you figure commission meetings are usually about once every 2 months or so. Sometimes there's more depending upon if it's a really active athletic commission, once every month. But they're going to put you before the commission. They're going to have you go up there and talk. They're going to ask you questions, and they'll decide if they are going to issue a license.
You know, John, I still have the video from the California State Athletic Commission appeals for the headbutt. And I want to just take that wherever I go and just present that to every commission. Say, see, I know the rules better than the California State Commission. I'm just going to point it out. Like, this is what I have to deal with.
Probably not the way for you to get licensed by an athlete.
What do you mean? Andy Foster loves me. He
does love
me.
you. No doubt about that. But I'm saying, you know, and I'm telling you right now, knowing Andy would be the first guy to license
yes,
you. You know,
Andy loves me.
Absolutely. Yeah, he would absolutely license you. With your experience, yeah, no doubt.
Andy loves me, man.
But
I always like to poke
I would not
fun.
sit there and I would not say anything bad about a regulatory body in front of another regulatory body.
Oh, man, they just go, man, this guy's going to be nothing but a headache if we give him a license. I'll wait till after my license comes in the mail.
Boom. There
That's
you go.
it. And then how long is that license good for? Is it an annual thing you got to renew?
1 year. You're going to have to most states, and because that's what we're talking about here is, you know, North America for the most part. So most states or provinces being Canada, 1 year. There are certain ones, Illinois. So if you're going to do a show in Chicago, they have a 2-year license, but they charge you a lot for it. And you're going to have to pay the licensing fee. You know, you got to figure every state, when you get a license, you have to have a medical. You got to go through the whole medical procedures and everything, then turn all that paperwork in. And then when they're going to license you, it's going to cost you anywhere from $75 is probably the cheapest, $300. I've seen $500.
Oh, that's not a lot. I thought you were talking like $7,500. I'm like, oh man, I was like, do refs even make that much a year reffing?
Yeah, but you got to figure every place. If you're one of those if you're a Jason Herzog or a Herb Dean or a Mike Beltran,
every state.
Every state.
That's right.
Every one of them, man.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have to
expensive
renew it, or can you just renew it when you have an event there?
Nice try, dude. Nice try.
Sorry. Because like fighters, right? I don't renew New York or Texas or whatever.
No,
I renew it when I fight there.
But you got to figure that you, as the fighter, you have a promoter who's bringing you. And so he's saying, hey, we have Josh Thomson who's fighting here in Illinois, we'll say. And so Illinois goes, okay, you know, Josh Thomson, we need medicals, we need this, we need that. And once you present all those and they see that, oh, yes, he's a professional fighter, this is his record, they can look at all of your fights and they say, yes, he qualifies for a license. Boom, they give you a license because the promoter wants you.
Yeah.
Well, if you are the official, if you don't redo that license, you're basically telling that regulatory body, what? I don't care. You know, yeah. If I'm not working for you, it's like, no, I want to work, and so here, you know, boom, here's next year. So yeah, you're paying them all.
So do they use you when you're? Let's say I live in Vegas. Will they still call you to do shows in New York?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's what I was.
Come on, Josh. How many places did I referee you that were not in California when I lived in California and you did?
No, that's true. This is very true.
And most of your fights were in California, but Chicago, boom.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Now the promoter gives a list to the commission that they would say, hey, we really think that these are the people that we want, you know, working the show. You can obviously add people, but you know, if you can choose some of these, we will pay for their travel there and we'll pay for their stay. So
sounds exciting. I mean, it's a good way to see the world and a good way to, you know, to make a little extra cash.
It's a fantastic way.
Yeah. You get to be surrounded by some top tier athletes and get to work with different promotions and organizations. I'm sure not all of them are the best to work for, but it's a good way to get in there and get your feet wet. So, and when is the date on this, John?
The date is July 26th through the 28th. So July 26th, 27th, 28th, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Is that the week before or the week after International Fight Week?
No, that's a month after. I did it.
July. Sorry, I was thinking June. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, the Conor Chandler fight will be over. And we will know the results by that time.
Got it. Okay, and that will be at Randy Couture's Gym Extreme Couture in Las Vegas at the end of July. So you guys check out all those dates. We will have a flyer listed on here. George is going to go ahead and put that up. And then we'll have a link down below, John, that we can connect it to, correct, in our description.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are interested in signing up for his course, get certification to try to be a referee and learn the ways, man. And so you guys can sit back and actually start yelling at us in the comments. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You don't know this. You don't know that. Because I took Big John's course, I might start believing you. All right, guys. So make sure you guys sign up, and hopefully you guys get that done up by today, tomorrow, next day, whenever. But get signed up before it's too late, because there is limited space. Correct, John?
There is.
There is. All right, guys. Well, hey, we're gonna go ahead and get into the first fight card, which is the UFC. We're gonna talk about them first, then we'll get into bare knuckle, because bare knuckle was later in the evening till like 2 in the damn morning.
Damn, thank you very
John,
much.
I was like falling asleep towards the end, even though they were good fights. I was just getting tired, man. I'm up at like 5 every morning or somewhere around there. I know you are too, because you're bucking hay right now. So I was what's it called? The sun being up in the sky for a farmer is the most important part. Correct?
Yes, it is.
You guys need the sun. So, all right, well, hey, let's go ahead and get into it. So, the UFC, we have Matías Nicolau versus Alex Perez. And, John, I sat up here and I thought that Nicolau was going to be the more dominant fighter. I thought he'd have a lesser chance of winning on the feet, but I thought his ability to get this fight to the ground and have that top pressure and control would be enough, and it wasn't. He had no answer to get this fight to the ground. He wasn't able to control Alex Perez, wasn't able to get the fight down, and he was stuck on the feet, and he just looked lost out there. Alex was putting that type of pressure that made him feel like that Nicolau just had no answer for. He's like, man, he was backpedaling, didn't like the power, didn't like the aggressiveness, didn't know how to handle it, John.
Go ahead and say that one more time.
Didn't like the power, didn't know how to handle the aggressiveness.
That's it. You just said that everything that there was, as soon as Alex Perez laid a couple of good shots on him, you could see the entire, just the way that he held himself in the cage changed. And it was like one of those, man, I got to be careful. And as soon as you go in there, look, obviously as a fighter, you're going in saying, hey, I need to be careful of this. I need to be careful of this. I need to be careful of that. But I know what I'm going to do. But when you're in the middle of the fight and all of a sudden now you're saying, ooh, I need to be careful of that. That's starting to go downhill right there, right away, because Alex Perez mentally just took that fight in the first 45 seconds of that fight when he started laying big shots, going to the body beautifully, because he went up and down. He did nice body work. He came back upstairs, and when he touched him, he had an effect, and that effect just took Nicolau out of the fight. Yeah, he was trying, but he was trying almost in a way of, well, let me see if this is going to work. Oh, this is not working. Let me. It just the entire like output of what he was really trying to do in the fight just slowed down.
Yep.
And he couldn't slow down. Perez was too fast and too active in it. I just look at it, this is one of those ones when you just look at a fighter and you go, oh, I've got this.
Yeah.
And then they get touched by someone, they go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This guy's different than I thought. And that's what happened.
It's happened to, I've seen a lot of fighters go through that process, and
absolutely.
I don't know if it was, he felt super confident going into it, and those first couple exchanges changes you right away, or he got out there, didn't know what to expect, and then so he was timid after that, like once he did start getting hit. So the two things could be the same. But he just had no answer. There was no adjustments whatsoever in the corner. There was not talking about it. There wasn't any changes you could hear being yelled to him. It just, like, you got to be the aggressor. You got to go first. You got to try to put him on his back foot. And it was almost like he didn't want to take the chance to leave himself out of position and get clipped and knocked out. But instead, circling back and away, putting your back to the fence is another way to get knocked out. And that's exactly what happened.
He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah. He had nowhere to go. He was done.
You're stuck in that position of, I can't lean back. My head's going to bounce off of this cage, and this, if your head will even hit the top rail. But I mean, I just look at this. You talk about, we talk about confidence in fighters all the time, and look, they're confident, right? And I watched a guy that I thought was going to really perform well, and I thought it was, an evenly matched fight. I thought that Perez on the feet was a little bit more, intuitive into striking, as far as he goes up and down really well. And I always like guys that go to the body, bring it back up, but he's more boxing centric for the most part. I thought he had a little bit of advantage, but I thought he had a great disadvantage on the ground with Nicolau. Mm-hmm. And didn't matter if he did. It never even got to that point.
No. And let's not be mistaken. Alex Perez is no slouch on the ground either. He's got a good...
Look, this is a guy that fought for the title.
Yeah, I mean, he's good, man.
So
He's tough. So he's good on the ground. He's got good side chokes. I believe side chokes, and he's good at getting to the guillotine, rear nakeds, and all that. Like, he's good on the neck. But he's definitely better, I think, on the top position, given pressure, than he is from off of his back. And,
he's not.
But on the stand-up,
is not where he wants to be.
You could just see that he had the power advantage. He also had the confidence in his chin and to put the pressure. Nicolau just never gathered it back after those first couple combinations. He's like, ooh, this is not what I was expecting, and just never came out of his shell. And when he did, he came out of his shell with his chin up and his hands down. So that led to the disaster. All right, you also got Ryan Spann and Guskov. Bogdan Guskov.
Bogdan. I told you. I'll tell you what, though. Bogdan came out of this thing when he first started that fight, and his hand was up to the side of his head. I was like, who the hell is that? Because that is not the guy that I have watched over and over, man. Bogdan puts his hands down and, go ahead, and he's swing. I talked about it before the thing, right? His hand was up here. I went, oh. He's like, yeah, I'm not taking a chance. Ryan Spann's got power. I'm not going to just take that chance. Yeah.
Ryan Spann can swat.
Smart move by Bogdan. And I thought, Ryan did a great job in the beginning of that fight, getting the fight down. The pressure he had on him. At the end of it, Bogdan had some problems in there. He was doing a good job of defending, but when he was getting flattened out and looking, and Ryan Spann was looking for the choke and stuff, you were looking and going, he might not make it out of this. He makes it out of the round, gets himself up, and comes back, and it was like two different sets of what happened in the first round and what happened in that next round. It was like craziness as far as just the momentum shift. And Ryan Spann took some big, I'll tell you what, he took some shots.
He did.
Some big shots. There was a couple of them that I thought, I can't believe that didn't put you down.
I agree, but then he also delivered some big shots that I thought Bogdan was going to go down as well. I was like, oh, but he snapped his head back, and he's like, oh, okay, no big deal, whatever.
Yeah, that's normally what Bogdan does. He's good. Hit me, go ahead.
That's eventually that chin's going to go away, though. And,
I agree.
You got to be careful. You never know when the shot's going to deliver that's going to be the one that puts it away. But overall, I was actually more surprised that Ryan Spann, he looked great coming into round two. He didn't look fatigued. Yeah. He didn't look tired. He looked clean. He looked crisp. He just got clipped with a good shot. Even going halfway through the second round, he still looked like he was looking good, looking fresh. He just was off target a little bit in the halfway through the second round, and Bogdan was able to land some clean, hard shots, and that's what finally put him away. But then when he got to that top, when he was able to set him down and basically get to the top position, man, those are some nasty. Was that a little bit of a late stoppage?
A little bit.
A little bit.
You got look. I understand why it was stopped the way it was, and I'm not gonna say bad stoppage, but you can look, and if you slow it down, which obviously the ref can't slow it down, you can see when Ryan, he's and there's nothing. What we look for is the inability to defend yourself. There's the difference. If I ask you right now, what's the difference between a TKO and a KO as far as the unified rules go? What would it be?
I don't know, John. I still don't know to this day.
Okay, and that's fine. But for everyone out there, a lot of people say, oh, he wasn't knocked out. A knockout is when the referee says the fighter could not intelligently defend themselves. Doesn't mean that they were completely out, but when a fighter cannot intelligently defend themselves, it's a KO. When a fighter does not intelligently defend himself, it's a TKO. Okay? And so what that's telling you is you get a guy that, he's getting blitzed and his hands, both hands go on one side of the head, and he's just taking shots. He's still there. He can intelligently defend himself. He does not. And so he forces the referee into stopping the fight. It's when a guy gets hurt and the brain and the body connection has been separated, to a point, even if they're not completely out, and the referee comes in and stops it. You're stopping it because he cannot intelligently defend himself, and so that would be a knockout. And Ryan Spann was in that position.
Yeah, he took. I don't want to say he took too many, but what it was he got hit and he was out, and then he got hit again. He kind of woke himself back up and started reaching with his hands. Then he got hit again and kind of glassed over.
That's what happens.
And then he was kind of out, and then he got hit again, and it woke him up, and he kind of like was moving his arms, looking like he was trying to do something when no one was home. You know, there was no one there. But you know, I've said this before. It's happened to me a couple times. The Yves Edwards, I got kicked in the neck, hit the ground. I woke up and I could feel I could feel myself like moving, like I was trying to defend nothing. But then I watched the replay and nothing was going on. The lights were out. Same thing happened with Hermes Franca in the third round. I mean, I caught his leg. He hit me. My eyes were open. I feel my face going towards the canvas. And I can't put my hands up.
I can't get my hands there.
As soon as my face hit the canvas, it woke me up and I was able to start moving around. Right? I mean, it's happened several times, man. I mean, even being choked out. You know, you're choked out and you kind of wake up and you're still almost grappling and pummeling. Like it's the Frank Shamrock, Bob Cook thing, right? Like you wake up, you're like, oh, okay, let's keep going.
Was I out? Yeah, okay.
You were out.
We're
It's
good.
Okay, just keep going.
I feel good.
Yeah. Nothing you can do. You can't. It's like, why am I going to stop? So, good stuff though. Ryan Bogdan, man, he's going to be something. I want to see.
He's a problem.
I want to see how good he is when he has to face like a top level wrestler though.
Well, that's really the question when you look and you go, he did a good job of defending himself on the ground. Now there was, everything is levels of how good the person is. You know, Ryan Spann is a good athlete. He's strong, physically strong. He may not be a great submission specialist, but he's got submissions, and Bogdan was able to stop all those. The question is if he ends up on the ground against that submission specialist, can he work his way through all of that and get himself back to his feet?
I guess
that's where he's going to win fights.
Yeah, we're going to find out there, though. We're going to find out as this competition gets a little bit more stiff. But, I mean, hey, he puts himself in the rankings with that win.
Yeah.
That's a good win for him.
That was a huge win.
This is what confused me last night, John. It was the next fight. Ariana De Silva. I was like, man, that's Ariana Lipski. Stop calling her De Silva. That shit don't mean nothing to me. Call her Lipski.
You absolutely get me all confused because I was like,
yeah,
Ariana Lipski, what are they doing?
I go, what's going on?
Obviously, they've been told something. So.
Yeah. I don't know what they were told. But anyways, then she fought Karine Silva. Look,
Karine Silva is
good.
Yeah, she has been good every fight I've watched her in the UFC. I've only watched her in the UFC, but man, her kicks are good. She's got good good footwork. Her head movement's good. She comes in, she's aggressive. She does everything well. And the one thing that I've always seen her stay away from is the ground.
Oh, she can grapple.
Not in this fight, man. And she proves she can grapple.
She got some grappling. She's got some wrestling. She
hit the ground before, but this one she was the one making it happen, and she looked great.
John, you remember when I was telling? I've said this on the podcast several times, and I've told people this across, all platforms. I've said this is we're at that stage where Frank Shamrock was at a certain level, where he kind of was the guy that kind of weaponized cardio. He had really trashy stand up, but it was good enough to kind of get himself through to his grappling. He had really good grappling from the bottom as well as top pressure and ground and pound. His ground and pound from the top was fucking nasty and vicious. I mean, not a lot of power behind it, but in terms of it was constant.
He was a gnat. He was a gnat.
There's no power, but
he would move and just so fast on top of you is like
Yeah,
where are you?
He was all about flowing. His whole game when he was coaching us was like just flow, just keep flowing. Don't use a lot of energy, just flow. Make that person tired by moving around them. That's what he would do, But when I look at her, man, she's kind of in that level of. Remember we went to the GSP level where he could strike and he could wrestle and grapple, and then you hit like the Rory McDonald level of like, man, this guy. He was, 10 seconds away from beating Carlos Condit?
Carlos Condit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was that his first or second fight in the UFC? First fight in the UFC. I think it was his first.
It might have been his first, yeah.
He was 10 seconds.
And it was in Canada, so.
Yeah, he was 10 seconds away or something like that. I think it was something so.
Yeah, no, I think it was 11 seconds, I believe.
From beating Carlos Condit, his first, I was like, holy shit. I mean, he went on to have a great career, fantastic career, but I mean, man. Jeez, dude, this kid was 19 years old at the time, but he could do it all. He could strike, he could grapple, he could do everything. His
submission game was fantastic.
I look at Karine Silva, and I'm thinking to myself, man, she can do it all. She can do it all, and she's young. I want to say she's what, 22, something like that. Can you?
And she's got gas.
Yeah, she's got.
She doesn't get tired.
Not like that kind of gas. She's like a cardio gas. You mean? Yeah, I got you. Okay. No, she's fantastic, man. She's good. Yeah. I agreed with you a little bit on that. I had never seen her do like any type of real grappling. She mainly had been all on the feet, and this was the time that she came in and just dominated the top position against Lipsky. And I was like, or sorry, De Silva. I don't know what the story is behind all that, but regardless. Ariana Lipsky De Silva, that's what I'll call her. The big long name. She dominated the top position. She was letting it go on the feet and then put it back down on the ground. She just controlled everything, every aspect of this fight. She dominated. Very, very good performance by her. I think we're seeing that changing of the guard, not in terms of like the athletes from now the younger ones coming in and taking over the older ones. No. What we're seeing is the changing of the level of technique. They're now mixing it and meshing it together very well. You got to remember, females MMA is 10 years, but is 10 years behind? Longer? No, about 12 years, right? Because they came in at 2006, 2007, right?
No.
Women's MMA? No, but John, I'm talking like at the next level, right? The level that, like, to the Strikeforce level, like that kind of was 2006, 2007.
Yeah, that would be about 2008.
Yeah, because not everyone was watching, Terry Troublecock's King of the Cage, Females MMA, or whatever.
Well, you got to give credit to where it was due. I don't know if you remember him, Jeff Osborne.
I do remember
Hook and Shoot. Remember Hook
and Shoot? Oh, man, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah, see? He was the first one. He actually put together an all-female card. He was the first one. And there was,
Julie Kedzie.
Julie Kedzie was on it. Had all kinds of different,
Marloes Conan, I think, was on there. Was she on there too?
I don't know. Marloes was fighting in Japan. She fought. God, who was it? I can't even think. Lost the name. She fought huge Becky Levi.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember.
I do remember Becky.
Levi was like 230 pounds, but not fat. And she was just with Dan Severn and Don Fry, and Marloes armbarred her, and it was like, hello.
Marloes is still one of my all-time favorites.
Oh my God! You talk about one of the greatest personalities in the fight game, and what she did for women's fighting. She doesn't get enough credit. Gina Carano doesn't get enough credit. Marloes doesn't get enough credit. A lot of it goes to Ronda, and Ronda deserves a ton of credit for what she did. But you take a look, and what Shannon Knapp has done with Invicta. And the first fight, for Invicta was Marloes Cohen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in the main event for that.
Well, even you got to be honest, even though Misha's still fighting, she don't get enough credit either from like where she came from up in the.
Misha was fighting at a time again.
Yeah.
No one, not a whole lot out there.
Nah. It's just females MMA is definitely headed in the right direction. Just a matter of we can start getting these younger females meshing it together just a tiny bit better, and I think they are. You're going to see like Karine Silva and a lot of them starting to take that stride into getting into that GSP / Rory McDonald, mixing it and becoming a true MMA fighter. They all are. I'm not saying female or not, but I'm simply saying of that mold. That it's not, you're not really great at one thing. You're great at all of them, and that's kind of where I think that's where the females MMA is kind of headed right now. Look at Alexa Grasso. She's made a big jump just in the time she's been in. Huge. Like she used to just be
when Alexa Grasso was fighting in Invicta, and she was picked up by the UFC out of there. She was a stand-up fighter. Yeah. She had no ground. She really had no ground, and she has made giant strides, with her grappling, her takedown ability, her takedown defense, and her ability to create problems. She beat, the unbeatable Shevchenko with a rear naked choke. It wasn't that she knocked her out.
Yeah.
So
no, good stuff. Good fight though by Karine Silva, and then you've got where we at right now?
Jonathan Denise against Austin Lane. I told you he did not come out the way I thought.
John, dude, Denise got the shittiest grappling I think I've ever seen. But
and it was not good.
Feet, woo!
Oh yeah,
he can do it.
He's got power. He always has. It's the thing when I feel bad for Austin Lane. Because, Austin Lane came into, if you remember, he was in the Dana White's Contender Series the first time most people saw him, and it was against Greg Hardy. Oh. It was two, NFL players and Hardy was trying to get, signed by the UFC. Well, you got to fight in the Dana White's Contender Series, and he put Austin Lane away. Not that 30 seconds into the fight is that, and Austin Lane comes into this, hey, I got to get this thing to the ground. Well, he did, and it's like, sometimes we get too technical, and I hate to say that, but you take a look at his takedown was mostly, it wasn't even a blast double, it was a tackle. Okay, it was a tackle. The guy used to play football.
It worked though.
Hey, exactly. Why the hell didn't you try it again?
Yeah.
It was all of a sudden he became, in the second round it was, here, let me try for the body locks and stuff. It's like, dude, just like you did before, man. Throw and boom. Just absolutely exploded into a tackle. Because look at what he did in the first round. He did so good. He wasn't able to get rid of him, but worked his way all the way to the mount, was throwing shots. Obviously the bell rings, he's got to get up. And from that moment on, everything went downhill for Austin. I just felt bad for him. It was like one of those, it's part of the sport. 5 minutes, it's a round. You got to get up. It's got to start on the feet again. It is what it is.
Yeah, you know what it is, though, too, is that guys that aren't used to wrestling, it's a lot of work to hold somebody else down.
Sure
now, it's a lot of work for the person on bottom as well. But look at what I'm talking about is in terms of the opponent. The knees, when he got back to the feet after being on the ground, he's also someone on the feet. He's so relaxed. That's his home. He understands. Look, I've been here 1,000 times on the feet. I can do this thing blindfolded.
Exactly.
Whereas Lane is like, man, I had to.
Now Austin, all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah,
the anxiety goes up.
I had to wrestle the whole first round. I had to grapple. Man, I feel so heavy. Now the pressure is. I'm on the feet again with a world-class kickboxer, and this guy's relaxed, not even breathing hard because now we're starting on the feet. Whereas I'm exhausted. I'm so tired from doing something in the first round. I got to try to repeat that in the second round. And it was just a snowball effect, man. I'm just like, damn, woe is me. If I don't get this first takedown, it's fucking over.
That's it.
And it was over.
It was. You just said it. It's woe is me because, man, you could see. And you saw when he failed on that first takedown attempt, you saw it was like, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it was like, oh, man. You got, look at, go again.
Yeah.
No, it just
people don't. You have to realize when you're in camp and you realize you're fighting someone you have to take down. In camp, you've got to learn to bury your pride. No matter what happens in the gym, I got to keep shooting. I got to keep shooting. Come back up, keep shooting. Get back to my feet, strike my way in, keep shooting. Like you can't get demoralized when that one takedown doesn't happen or those 3 or 4 takedowns don't happen. Do you think Khabib would have had the career he had he given up after the one takedown? Fuck no.
There's the person.
That guy didn't give it.
And he said, when they with Conor, everyone, what happens when he stops your first takedown? So he stops the first takedown. So I shoot again.
That's
right?
exactly what it is.
And then they go, what if he stops that one? I shoot 100 more.
Yes.
Hello.
And that's what you have to drill it so much. You have to do it, ingrain it in your body that it just happens naturally. People don't get that part of it all. They don't understand. They think that like if I don't get 2 or 3, if I don't get it by the 4th one, that it's over. No, it's not. You got 4.5 more minutes left, son. Like get out there and keep going. And if I need to shoot it 100 times, then I need to shoot it 100 times.
But you got to have the cardio to be able to do that.
That is true, but you always have to remember
heavyweight. Heavyweight.
Yeah, call heavyweights. But John, doesn't matter. It always comes down to is your relaxation in those positions, because every time you shoot is better than their relaxation and them defending the takedowns. I don't think Denise would have had the cardio to keep defending the takedowns had Lane been able to keep shooting, but he just didn't. It just came down to who can relax more into that position. I don't think Denise would have been able to relax enough to keep stuff in the takedowns if Lane would have kept shooting. I go back to the Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos fight. Junior just didn't. He could stuff the first 2 or 3. He just didn't have the cardio to stuff 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know what I mean? And a lot of guys that fought Habib, same thing. Yeah. They can stuff. Everyone now can stuff 2 and 3. Can you stuff 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 14, 18, 20? Okay, did I just go by even number? No, I missed 16. Anyway, it was, you know what I mean? So like that's the thing. You've got to be able to break them. And what I mean by break their will is just you understand that I can shoot 10 times. I can shoot 15 times, you know? I can do those things. John, I got one of those Yetis right there you're drinking out of too from LMNT. LMNT is fantastic, by the way. Stay salty, my friends. But look.
Dude, this is salt. It is absolutely addictive.
John, you and I were talking about it, and then I had talked to the people there at LMNT, and man, like it's made such a change in like how I actually go about my day.
Hold it, I'm telling you, look, I've been out in the sun all day long. I was just, all right. We're not talking about fighting now. I'm talking about farming.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. But you know, when you're going to do hay, you got to cut it. Okay, that you're sitting inside a tractor or you're on the outside of a tractor with bugs in your face. But one of the two, I've got both, so depends on which one I can get on. Then once you cut it, you've got to take and you do this thing called a teeter, and it spins it and fluffs it out and puts it out. Then you V-rake it, and it goes into rows, and then you come with a baler, and it picks it up and puts it into a roll. Well, then the roll's sitting there, and you've got to pick up the roll and put it on a trailer, then take the trailer to the barn, take all those rolls and put them out, you know, and stack them up in the barn and stuff. I mean, it is days of work, and it's freaking just horrible because the hay's dirty, you know, it's got dirt and it's got bugs and it's got freaking, you know, grass. And so by the time you're done, I mean, it's a nasty, sweaty, gross day. You got, you know, black all over you and everything. This stuff has made an incredible difference in the way I feel doing it, though. Instead, like I'm a monsteraholic, I admit it, and I would drink monsters, and you know, I would just go through them, and I never felt like my thirst was quenched. Boom, stay salty, my friend. I love the product.
It's definitely changed the way that I approach my days. I used to get up and just drink, you know, 1 or 2 coffees. And then now I just get up and I'll do my LMNT in the morning, and they have different flavors, whether it's watermelon, you got grapefruit. You know, you were saying like, oh, I kind of stayed away from the grapefruit, and then you tried it. Like, this is really good.
Great. Yeah.
And it's that very first one. The very first one I tried, I was like, oh, this is a little bit too salty.
Yeah, you think you're drinking the ocean.
Yeah, but then after you realize, like, look, I can do 2 or 3. I started noticing a difference throughout my day. I had energy throughout the day. I felt better throughout the day. And just, it wasn't a crash either. After my coffee, I felt a little run down. Anyways, I know we're giving them a plug right now, but this is the biggest thing is I really do enjoy their product, and it's clean. The other thing is everyone that drinks liquid IV, you guys, like, it has a lot of sugar in it. I drink LMNT. LMNT has no sugar in it. So I don't get that sugar crash. I don't get that nasty, like, film in my mouth as well. So I've been drinking LMNT. I actually love it. They've actually talked to us now about offering stuff to our listeners. So if you guys want, the link is down below in our descriptions. Check out the link. They'll actually send you guys, when you guys buy something, they'll send you a free package of stuff, and it'll change. And it's not just for first timers. It's for every time you buy something through our link down below. So check them out, man. They're awesome. I love the product. It's clean. It's healthy. It's good for you. And as a former athlete, I say former because I'm fat and out of shape now, getting myself back into it. You know what I mean? But look, John uses it now on a daily while he's farming. I use it now for my workouts and my runs. Even podcast Dave's been using it for his morning runs and his afternoon runs. He's been running a lot lately. And so, he's been using it. And I can tell you guys this from experience. My career would have been a lot better had I had something like this that I didn't start until later on in my career. It really came down to I was overtraining so much that my body was literally dehydrated. I went and got testing done. I was so dehydrated that my test levels had dropped so much because I was dehydrated. So I don't know what the normal numbers would be, but they're like, yeah, you should be at a high, I think it was like, I should have been at like 500 or 600, I think, or something. And I was only at like 180, 170, 180. So they're like, yeah, because look, we've done your hydration test. You're so depleted in water. You need to start drinking a lot more water. They were telling me over 1.5 gallons a day I should be drinking. I was drinking maybe 1 12 ounce bottles. Those little
16 ounce.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Ounce,
whatever the size of this little thing is,
It's a pint.
Yeah, I would drink something like that. So anyways, but look, it's definitely made a difference in how I approach my day and my time. So I want to thank you guys. If you guys want to hit that link down below, and that'll take you to LMNT. And if you use our description down there or our link down there, you go ahead and you'll get a free prize with your purchase. So check it all out. Free prize. Free.
Love it.
All right, guys. Let's go right into the next fight. We've got what? We've got Jonathan Pierce versus David Onama.
This is the one we kind of we had a little bit back and forth. You know, we both like David Onama. He did not make weight, which is, son, you know what? If you can't make that featherweight classification, then move up to lightweight, but you cannot miss weight. It's just, it doesn't look good for you as a professional. You're lucky Jonathan Pierce took the fight, because 3 pounds, I'm going to sit here and say, look, I believe in taking the fight anyways, but it is at a detriment, because you didn't have to suffer, because that's what you're doing, is you're losing that weight and you're suffering. And those last 2 pounds are the most brutal of all. So you didn't have to suffer, which meant you performed better. Now you performed. It was a great fight. I love this fight. I thought they both, you know, they were going after it. You always talk about ferrets on the ground doing things. They were both, you know, absolutely exploding into things. I didn't agree with the outcome, though.
Nope.
I actually thought Jonathan Pierce actually won the fight. I had him winning 29-28, but look, it was not a robbery. It was a good, clean fight, and Onama really has shown improvement in his game overall. His grappling has gotten way better. His stand-up is still fast. He's got very fast hands, and that was a big difference, I think, in part of the makeup of the fight. But Jonathan Pierce, mentally tough, physically tough, a grinder. Just at certain points, we talk about position before submission all the time, don't we?
Yep.
Why? Watch this fight, and it'll tell you why.
I try to explain to my son that in soccer and in lacrosse, you need to possess the ball if you're going to win. You cannot win if you don't have the ball.
Can't win if you don't touch the ball.
And so if you don't have the control and position, it's very hard to hit those submissions. And so you've got to control these areas. You got to possess, you know, the body. You got to be able to control his positioning and be able to start mounting your offense and your attack. The same thing goes for lacrosse and soccer. And just being able to control that ball, being able to push the ball left to right, drive it down the field, maybe even drop it back, whatever it is. You've got to have that control. If you're on the back, let's not get overzealous, start chasing things that aren't there and leave yourself out of position. I expect that from... I don't expect that from anybody in the UFC. You shouldn't be doing
There you
that.
go. No.
You're at the level now, you shouldn't be making those mistakes. If the UFC gives you a phone call and you're in the UFC, you shouldn't be making these kind of mistakes. Now, I know it happens. You go chasing something in a scramble.
Sure.
But he had good positions.
But multiple times,
Yes.
it happens in the same fight. That definitely shouldn't.
No, he had several positions where he just had to chill out and relax and just focus on keeping the top position. I've said this a bunch of times to some younger guys that I was training when I was living in San Jose, was when you get to that top position, Jake Shields was one of the best at doing it. He would just control one arm. If he could get two from the mount position, he would control two. He'd always have the far side underhook if he was in half guard or in side control. But he would always just rest and give you a little bit of a squeeze, make you fight hard to get out of that position. And he just went wherever you went. He gave it to you because he knew what his next position was. Some of these guys try to hold on so tight that they end up losing the position instead of just letting the guy roll and just taking his back, or letting the guy roll and just get into the scissor mount, you know, or the S mount. Like they haven't quite learned that yet. Learn how to control the underhooks, drive him up above his head, take away all of his ability to buck and fight out of there and try to bridge you over by controlling his arms above his head. He just didn't have that, man. He just kept making little mistakes that cost him, as Donald Trump would say, hugely. He kept making those huge mistakes, and it just put him on bottom, and he had to scramble and put in positions. It was two ferrets getting after it. It was a very action-packed fight.
It was great, but a lot of mistakes make an action-packed
Yes.
fight many times.
Gave me a little bit of that flashback of Yuri and Glover kind of in the later rounds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Just like,
absolutely.
man, what's going on? These guys are so good. Why is he getting bucked off? What's going on? They're exhausted. I understand. I do get it. I do. But I thought overall it was a good fight. I thought Onama lost the fight, though. I'm in the same way. It wasn't a robbery by any means.
No.
I had Jonathan Pierce winning the fight. But it was definitely a good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight run back, you know, again. Definitely.
Yeah.
And
Outstanding by both guys.
Tim Means versus... go ahead.
You know, this is one of those ones, Josh, where you look, you know, Tim Means is, had a hell of a career. He's 40 years of age now. Had right over 50 fights, professional fights. He's had more than that, obviously. The guy has been there, done it all. But, going up against a guy like Medic, you're looking at a young, fast fighter, and you're going, we talked about it. I said, Tim Means, he got great elbows. He's great in the clinch. He does a lot of good, dirty work inside, and he needs to do that against Medic, to get the win here. He can do it. He wasn't able to do it. And Medic was just too fast. And that uppercut that he got hit with was beautifully timed, beautifully placed, and just absolutely took his legs out from him. And it was a good thing that the fight was stopped when it was.
Well, I guess the way I look at it as well is that Tim Means is not used to dealing with someone who's as tall and as long and rangy as him. And Medic was very technically sound. And hitting those uppercuts is not something that Tim Means probably normally has to prepare for. Like hitting those uppercuts against tall guys is very difficult, especially when you're dealing with guys that are shorter than you. I'm not throwing an uppercut against you, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. Okay, I'm going to try to go.
It's got to go too far.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go overhand right and probably still going to be 2 out of range. But you understand what I'm saying. Like Tim Means doesn't probably prepare for that. Medic is someone who is so tight with his offense. I mean, he's very technically sound on the feet.
Oh, he's good.
I just thought that maybe he would feel uncomfortable being pushed backwards by Tim Means. And I was leaning toward Tim Means winning this fight only based on I thought Tim's pressure was going to be too much as the fight went on. Well, the fight didn't go very long, so that's what it ended up making the decision. But he had a great game plan, circled, stay off of his back foot, try to land the clean shots. Tim Means looked like he was starting to find his groove, but just left his head in the wrong place. Boom, got clipped. Fight's done.
Yeah. Nice, very nice win by Medic. You got to give him credit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Tim Means is not someone that's easy to get rid of.
No, but John, if I'm looking at Medic though, I mean, like you gotta say, like, where would you put him at now? I mean, like who you got to give him somebody in the top 10, somewhere in that top 12, somewhere in there.
Man, do you think he's there at 170 pounds? It's got a lot of quality fighters in it, and he's had some really good fights. He had his fight against Semmelsberger is one that really got my attention because I think Semmelsberger he's one of those. He's a tough dude.
Yeah,
he's that Midwest just tough dude that keeps coming and fighting. But
okay, let me give you a couple guys right off the top of my head at welterweight.
Let's go.
Let's go. Either Neil Magny.
Yeah, that's a good matchup. I think Neil on the ground is a little bit slicker than Medic, but on the feet, I give it to Medic. Is a little bit, it's got more power.
What about Vicente Luque?
I don't know.
You like Luque, that's why you're saying no.
Well, no. That's why I don't know what Luque you're going to see anymore.
No, I get it.
He had the one big time injury that he was out for a while, and then you just take a look at his last fight and you go, it might be his fight career might be at that point where there's not a whole lot left.
I don't want to go too much further than that because then we're really just kind of giving him guys like Jeff Neal, Joaquin Buckley. Buckley might be a fun fight for him. Kevin Holland. I think the guys that you were looking to give him, I'd give him Kevin Holland, Vicente Luque, or Neil Magny. Those are probably the 3 fighters I'd potentially try to give him to break him into the top 15. That's fair.
Okay.
I think if I got any lower than that, right, then I get into Jeff Neal, Stephen Thompson, Sean Brady. I think he needs a little bit more experience. He's 1, maybe 2 more fights before he gets to those guys. Am I being fair?
I agree. Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
so. I think I'm being fair. I'm a pretty fair guy.
You are.
That's what I like to tell myself. Okay, but yeah, because then you get into like Burns and Ian Gary Machado, and you look at Jack Della Maddalena. That's a lot.
Well, where's MVP on that list?
MVP's way back here behind Neil Magny. He's number 13.
He's third. I thought he was 9.
No, he's at 13. No,
He's at
because
13.
Kevin Holland, I think, was only 12 at the time. So
where's Kevin Holland at?
he's at 15 now.
He's at 15 now. Okay.
So we'll see. John, is there anybody on this prelim fights that you want to talk about on the UFC?
I want to give a nice win by Victor Henry,
Yes.
but a sad situation for Ronnie Yahya. I mean, Ronnie's been around for a long time. He's obviously everybody knows fantastic jiu-jitsu, not the greatest in the stand-up, but was always able to have enough to be able to get into the clinches and steal fights and win the fights and stuff. You know, how old is he now?
He's 41, I think.
Is it 41?
Yeah, I believe he's 41 years old.
I would, you know, he's right at 40, we'll say.
Okay.
But, I mean, I look and I go, this is one of those ones I don't want to see him taking punishment. Look, he got, at the end of that, he was getting lit up. And I don't want to see him get, you know, he's been around for a long time, doing a lot of good things. You know, how much longer are you going to do it? Because there comes that point you got to ask people, Josh, why are you doing this? Because there comes a point you've got to look and say, physically, let's just be honest about fighting. And I say it all the time. It is not a healthy activity.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not healthy for you. So you got to give things up to get things. Well, what are those things that you're wanting to get? You know, and if, you know, obviously, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell people that they don't have the ability to make a payday and stuff like that. You know, if it's for pay, I understand. But, you know, championship runs and those kind of things, you know, there's none, you know, none of that. And so it comes a point you got to be in that position to say, is it time?
Yeah, the other thing when you look at him is that he's a one-dimensional fighter. He's always been a one-dimensional fighter. And I was just talking about this with the females. Well, guess what? It's still prevalent in the male.
There.
Yeah, he's someone that was so good in the grappling department that he had success with it.
He could win fights.
He could win fights. But now that he's getting older, the speed, everyone now is good enough to stuff arm bars, triangles, takedowns, all that stuff. They're in the second, third, fourth level and stages of this. He hasn't caught up, and as you get older, it's harder to keep up. And so that's where he's at right now. And if he's fighting for the money, cool. I mean, it's just a matter of time, though. If he keeps dropping them, the UFC is going to eventually let him go, which would be understandable. You don't want to see that happen. But I also, like I said, if he had more weapons in his toolbox, guys like RDA, they can keep going because he can pull something out.
He can fight everywhere,
Exactly.
though. You know?
So
he can wrestle. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic. He's got good stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tough son of a bitch that can throw. He's got knockout power.
yeah.
I mean,
He's
full
so
package.
well versed everywhere. He's got good grappling, good submissions, good takedowns. He can do it anywhere. If he fights somebody, it's because in his mind he's already weaponized on how I can beat that person. I can wrestle that person to the ground. I can keep this thing on the feet, stuff his takedowns, and keep it on the feet and leg kick him. I mean, you got to remember the things, the damage he has done. RDA has been able to do with his leg kicks is phenomenal throughout his career. Now you look at Yana Yaya, and he's one-dimensional. If he can't get the fight to the ground, he's in a lot of trouble. And so that's just going to end up being bad as his career goes on, especially now as he's getting older. Anybody else on here, buddy?
No, I'm good.
All right. Hey, that's going to wrap up our UFC talk. But before we move on, I want you guys to understand that even though this was a great main card for the UFC, man, BKFC stole the show this weekend, man. It was a great card. It was fun. I thought BKFC did a great job. Not trying to knock the UFC card or the fighters there at whatsoever, but it just felt when I tuned into the BKFC, the prelims on YouTube, and then I tuned into their main card, which I bought the pay-per-view. I mean, it was a whopping $32.99.
$32.84.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I paid that, and when I paid that due, man, it was kind of actually, John, it was kind of nice to see that it didn't say fucking $80-something every time I bought a pay-per-view. I wonder how many more people would buy these pay-per-views if they were all $32.
Oh, I'll tell you what, a lot.
I bet you'd have less people going to other people's houses to watch them or going to like
$87, almost $90 every time for every month. You know, you got to figure $90. That's over $1,000. You know that I pay out for the UFCs every year. That's one of those ones where hopefully you've got 4 or 5 friends that can split it and move around to different homes.
Yeah, that's probably what they do. I'm too cheap, man. I'm not too cheap. I'm the guy that doesn't want to go watch it with other people.
Bingo.
So, I pay that.
That's me. I like sitting in my chair and I watch my fights.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
What's the God, what was that old show guy, old white guy, used to sit back in his lounger all the time? Archie Bunker.
All in the Family.
What was the name of that?
It was All in the Family was the name of the show, but that was Archie Bunker. Dude, someone sent me a clip of that show today.
Oh, jeez.
Today.
Is that why you knew?
No. That's so funny you say it, because this is a guy I grew up with, and he was at my dad's funeral. It's the first time I saw him in a long time. And
But you grew up with him?
I grew up with him, yeah.
Archie Bunker?
No,
Oh, I was like, what the hell?
I grew up watching Archie Bunker because my dad watched
You
it.
threw
right?
me off. I was like, wait a second.
so
Is this your homeboy? What's going on?
So Chris, it was my friend. He sends me this thing. He says, I remember watching this with your dad.
Oh.
Right? And so I watch it, and it is absolutely hysterical. But there is no way in the world
They'll never play that now.
they're putting on that now.
The shit that came out of his mouth, dude.
Oh,
they
dude, it
are
was
not
so
playing that on this.
No, they're not playing it. But god damn, it was funny.
Oh man.
He was so freaking, nuts.
Oh, I mean, but you could go back and look at some of the other stuff too, like with was like Facts of Life, even some of the Cosby Show stuff. You're like if you look at it in this day and age, a little cringe. Could be a lot of little cringe stuff. I mean, what was the one with Laverne and Shirley? Not Laverne and Shirley. Three's Company.
Three's Company.
Three's Company. Like that whole show might be a little suspect these days.
Jack Tripper, man.
There you go, Jack Tripper. Yeah, with the two roommates. They were his roommates, right? The two girls.
Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Dude had it going on.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Suzanne Summers as your roommate. Hello. First time you ever saw Suzanne Summers
in Three's Company.
Oh no, there was a
John. I was like 6, dude.
Oh, what the? Oh my God. God damn it! I can't think of the name of it because it's Mel's Drive-In was the place that they did it at, and Ron Howard was in the frickin' the show.
Was it a show or a movie?
The movie. It was American. I can't think of what it's fucking called. But
George, this is your job, buddy. Look up what he's talking about.
George, find that movie.
George.
Ron Howard movie, something.
Susan Summers?
Yeah, Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne
is
Summers?
in it. She doesn't have a speaking role, though. She's in a white.
Is it American Graffiti?
American Graffiti. Thank you very
I'm gonna
much.
have to tune in and check that out.
So American Graffiti has got, it's got this guy, John Milner, who's this cool dude with this yellow freaking hot coupe. And there's actually Harrison Ford is in it too.
Oh, wow.
He's the guy that's in a 55 Chevy with it's real fast. And the big thing is the drag race, right? And they're trying to find each other. But Suzanne Summers periodically goes through this damn, scenes in this white 56 Ford Thunderbird, right? And you look, you go, damn, who's that, right? And it was Suzanne Summers. That didn't have a speaking role.
That was a George Lucas movie. Fun fact.
There you go, man. See, Star Wars. Look at that. When did that come out?
79, 73.
God, damn, I'm old. Did you say 79, 73?
It's 73. I looked at it wrong.
73, okay. Whew. Crazy.
John, have you ever looked back at movies and been like, I know all these actors because they're all now like really, really famous? Have you ever done that? Let me see. What was the movie? This is the movie. What was the movie that I was talking about? Let me tell you. This movie, I actually did I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. But look, there's certain movies that you look back in time and you're thinking to yourself, what was the movie with all the? Remember, it had Patrick Swayze, it had Ralph Macchio, it had
Stand By Me.
No, Stand By Me. That wasn't. Patrick Swayze wasn't in Stand By Me, fool.
I'm 24 years old.
This is very true.
Damn, George.
It was an old
George.
It was
George. Do you realize that you would be my youngest kid by like 7 years?
I am, John. That's why I'm here today.
All right, George is mine. George is mine.
Man, it had everybody. What was the movie that he was in that movie with everybody? It was one of his very first movies. I think I was like 16. God, it had Patrick Swayze. It had Ralph Macchio. It had who was the gosh, man, the brothers, the Charlie Sheen brothers. Not Charlie Sheen.
So Emilio Estevez.
The Outsiders.
The Outsiders.
Golden Boy.
Golden Boy, man. Pony Boy, Golden Boy, all of them, dude. I did a quick little skit in elementary school as Pony Boy. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I actually kind of liked it. But like I look back at that movie though, John, I'm like, man, so many top level actors in that movie that came out of there just all became fucking massive stars. And you're thinking when they get casted, you're like, these guys are probably thinking this is like their one-off movie. That whole group of them just blew up.
Some of them need to be blown.
Wow, things have changed. All right,
Well,
let's go ahead and get into the BKFC. We've talked about Hollywood enough. Let's go right now. John, some of these fights, man, they were pretty damn good. Which ones did you enjoy? Let's go ahead and go into that. Which ones did you enjoy?
Oh, my God. I got to find it first so I know.
All right, well, here, let me start off with one that I thought was extremely impressive, was the Jordan and Diaz. What was his real name? Jordan. Why do they not put these people's first names in? Like, I don't know. Anyways, Diaz and Jordan, great fight. Jordan was whooping Diaz's ass for the first.
Well, hold on. Let
Go ahead.
Where that wasn't on the main
Yes,
card.
it-
That was on the preliminary.
No, that was the main card. That was not. That was
Jordan
fight
and-
number 3 on the main card. So you had Rosas versus Alvarez was the first fight.
You're saying, yeah. So you're saying David Diaz versus Shane Jordan.
Was it David Diaz? Why do they not have? How come on BKFC's website they don't have their first names?
I don't know.
That's so weird to me. Come on, guys, do a better job.
Look, I'll be. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, let's go.
The beginning of the preliminaries because that's when we started texting each other. And Keith Richardson was fighting Cody Vidal. And I'll tell you what, you talk about damage. And I mean damage in one round by both.
Yeah.
2 minutes. These guys, one looked like the Elephant Man. Richardson looked like the Elephant Man. He was swollen on one side of his face, and on the other side it was bumping out. And Vidal was cut up like he had been in the fight with a damn rooster that had the razor blades on his leg. I mean, it was just that. But that's what makes BKFC so goddamn fun to watch. Is it can be 2 minutes of just sheer, absolute, maniacal craziness and unbelievable damage that neither guy can actually make it through, but they go after it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I thought only that, but then that was like Richardson ended up getting the win on this, but
Yeah. Off of the cuts.
off of the cuts. But it was also one of those things, John, where Richardson was just touching and like almost pulling the Nate Diaz out. Just let me just touch you a little bit, just touch you.
He did.
It was a bunch of little powder puff, but they were getting through. And Vidal was just like going, man, he was just covering up. He was so exhausted after putting the beating on Richardson in the first round that he didn't know what to do. He just couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't handle the little tiny shots. He was overwhelmed. And when you're exhausted, it feels like everything's moving so fast. Even though when you go back home and you're going to watch the video, you're going to be like, what the hell? That guy was punching me so slow. But it seems so fast. And Richardson was able just to grit down, got through the first round. I mean, I believe he got dropped.
He got through the second round.
Yeah, got in the second round. Got through the first round. Into
The second
round
round's when he came on.
Yeah, he came on in the second round, and damn, it was a good. Like I said, I felt like the night belonged to BKFC, and nothing. I'm not taking anything away from the UFC, but man, some of these fights, they were just so fun to watch. And I was texting on or tweeting or whatever. See, I call it X when I'm explaining that I was on X. But like, how do you say tweet without? You got to. I X somebody. That just doesn't make sense.
I was on X.
It was on X, but I saw an X.
Tweeting. I was tweeting on X.
Yeah, I was tweeting on X. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I'm still getting used to that portion. I can call it X. Yeah, I was on X. I can do that. But then trying to explain to someone I was sending an X, that just makes it a little weird. I was sending a tweet. But overall, good fight, man. Good fight. What else you got? Aaron and Brooks.
Man, Tommy Aaron, a guy who we've watched in MMA multiple times coming out against this kid in Richard Brooks. Dude, they were throwing, they were going. It was fun to watch. And Brooks kind of realized somewhere in there, dude, this guy's a lot better than I thought. And he's hitting me hard. It was at one point almost looked like he wanted out. Doctor did not let him out. Doctor said, no, he can fight. Got him back up, and after he was kind of like wobbling, rolling on the ground like he got cheap shotted. And Tommy Aaron put it on him. It looked like they were going to disqualify Tommy Aaron I'm like, he did not hit him. I remember I'm looking at it when it happened, and you see it, and you don't see the head move. So I'm like, he didn't hit him. He was on the ground, and he motioned like he swung. But if you swing and you don't hit anything, there's no foul. Thank God they went to the replay because he didn't hit him. And they gave it to the right guy. It would have been bad if they had disqualified Tommy Aaron for not fouling somebody.
Well, John, this is why your refereeing program is so important. This is why. I mean, like, you literally had to go back to the replay and see, because there was talk between the analysts saying, yeah, he may either get disqualified
he's DQ'd,
or he will not win this fight if he hit him. And they were saying that they thought he hit him. And so when you go back, but then we also talked earlier in this on this show, was that fighters don't know the rules. And so what Brooks was hoping for was, hey, so if I pretend like I got hit, do I win?
I win. I win.
That's exactly what happened. He was hoping.
I felt like you during the show, though. I'm sitting there watching the show, right? And I go and I go to drink, and all of a sudden I hear my name.
Ah, yes.
Right? And I was like, what the hell?
I did.
Yeah, Sean Wheelock called out my name. I was like, thank you very much.
Yeah,
That
Sean.
was very nice of you.
Sean's a good dude, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sean's a good
absolutely.
dude.
Just a great guy.
Great guy.
So is Chris Lytle. You talk about a good combination. I think they're doing a great job
Absolutely.
on BKFC. And just two wonderful human beings. Chris has been a fire. People realize he's been a firefighter this whole time.
Oh, shit, really?
He is just now. Chris Lytle is just now retiring, based upon he's got the whole gig going with the BKFC and stuff. So
Interesting.
he's going to retire from the fire department, but
Good
he's been
for
on it
him.
forever. He's kind of like Stipe. No one ever gave him the credit that Stipe got, though.
Ah,
So
wow.
I want to give Chris Lytle credit. Chris, you've been the man. You've been a phenomenal fighter. You've had an incredible career in boxing and MMA. You've been a firefighter this whole time, and now you're a hell of a commentator.
Wow.
So way to go, dude.
Good job, buddy. He's always been a great guy. Always been.
He is.
You know what's funny? I was texting with, remember Tracy Hess from
Yeah,
Affliction?
absolutely.
I was texting with him today, and I was like, man, I miss the fighters that did it because they loved it, and they were hoping to make enough money to pay their rent or their mortgage. That's it. I miss those days. It's just a new breed. The new breed doesn't appreciate, all the work that went into getting to where it is.
Yeah, I got to go do an interview coming up here. I got to fly to a place to do an interview for. They're doing a whole thing on Tough One and Diego Sanchez. They're going to talk about a lot too, right? So they did a pre-interview over the phone, and I gave them answers and stuff. But it's like they're talking about the contract for Tough One, and and if you go back and friends of yours, Bobby Southworth. That whole talk that you remember Dana with his, do you want to be a fucking fighter?
Mm-hmm.
That was based upon Bobby Southworth. Bobby was the one going, hey, I'm a goddamn professional fighter. I don't fight for free. And Bobby was right, when you're looking at it, because they didn't have, it wasn't the UFC's fault. It wasn't Dana's fault. It wasn't the rest. They didn't have the answers because they didn't know the questions. It was, they're throwing things together, trying to, figure something out, but one of the things was there was nothing for the fighters as far as pay for those fights. And so then they came up with, all right, if you get a finish, you get a knockout, a TKO, or a submission, you get $5,000. And that's kind of how it, worked itself out. But, that was the whole thing when Dana came up with the question, do you want to be a fucking fighter? And it was,
I thought it was 5 and
time.
5 to show, 5 to win. I think that's what it ultimately ended up being.
Not the
Really?
very first. Yeah. After, because you got to figure that, the contract that, remember it's this $100,000 contract.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you figure out that $100,000 contract was over between 6 and 8 fights, depending upon
No,
which
it was 10.
It was, but was
It
it
was
10 total?
That's
now?
why I got to the 5 and 5. It was 5 and 5, 10
Well, yeah,
fights.
yes. Hold on. I'm talking about the show Tough One when they were, fighting for that contract.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I understand because Bobby came back and was complaining about they didn't want to pay us, But I think ultimately they ended up deciding on they were getting 5 and 5. Maybe it was the finishing that you're talking about, but I know that their $100,000 contract was for 10 fights. That's why Koscheck wanted to fight as many times as he possibly could. That dude said, sign me up.
But see, Koscheck was in the position of he didn't win the contract, but he was picked up under another part of the contract. But you go to the contract that he was picked up under, and it was like,
yeah,
it wasn't
no,
good.
it wasn't.
But what was good back then? It was they were struggling, and you can't pay people when you're struggling.
Yeah. No, I get it. But I mean, Costa's whole mentality was, let me fight as much as I possibly can to burn through this Ultimate Fighter contract as fast as possible so I could renegotiate for more.
Smart move.
Like, I one of my knocks on myself for my career was I should have been a lot more busy. Yeah. I should have been. But, that was kind of the knock, though, John, for me staying with Strikeforce, is because we didn't have as many fights as the UFC was having at the time.
Sure.
And fighters over there could stay more active. I mean, I was making more money, but I was fighting less. So it kind of evened itself out. Yeah, I was making more money per fight. Yeah. But it kind of evened itself out because I wasn't able to fight as often. So when I did have a good fight, and I was like, I came out unscathed, and I was like a first round finish or a second round finish, whatever. I had no bumps or bruises. I wanted to fight again, turn around in another 2 months. Like, nope, I can't fight you for another 4 months. And I'm like, fuck. Yeah. I mean, but then that's how I ended up, being out, going out, getting myself out of shape instead of just keeping the routine going. I always wondered, because there was a moment there, I think in my second contract, that right before I fought Gil the first time, I was considering leaving and going to the WEC because they had the lightweight division, and the UFC had just brought the UFC had just brought back the lightweight division or something like that, but I was considering going to the WEC. And I said, look, if I go to the WEC, I want to fight, 1 or 2 times, and then I want to go to the UFC. And they were like, no, you either sign with the WC or you stay, or you got to go to the UFC, one of the two. And BJ was there, and Shirk was there, and I was still really good friends with BJ, and I knew that they weren't doing a lot of lightweight fights, and so I knew they were going to be like, hey, you need to fight BJ, and I don't know, BJ and I always had a really good friendship, and I was like, first off, I didn't want to lose to him because I wasn't as good as him at that time. I knew that, and so I was like, damn, this is a shitty position to be in. So I was like, and then I talked with Coker, and we started rehashing out how I could fight more often and more, and try to get more busy. And plus, he paid me a lot more to stay, so it made sense. But anyways, all right,
so, good for Scott.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into this. So we had a couple of MMA guys. You had Fernando Gonzalez going in there against a guy I had never seen fight, in Vincent Familiari, but Familiari got the win. But there was a couple of fights on here. Like you said, David Diaz versus Shane Jordan. Man, it was a good back-and-forth fight.
I mean, you saw...
But so was Andrew Angelcourt versus Ruben War.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good fight.
That was a really good fight.
Split decision, but they were going.
Yeah, I think with the Jordan and Diaz fight, Diaz was someone that he got his ass kicked in the first 2 rounds. Started coming on, conditioning, cardio, started pushing the pace. Just came on a little bit too late. I think he thought, it was one of those fights, but ended up being a draw. And so, you know what? Let's go ahead and see those guys run it back.
Draw straight across the board.
Yeah, it was, but it was because he dropped Jordan. I think in the 4th round, I think he dropped him.
That's right.
And so then that's what made it end up being a draw. What'd you say? The Angelcourt and War. That was a great fight, back and forth. Some big shots. I expected a little bit more out of Angelcourt, though. I expected him to put the pace a little bit more and be able. He was fucking shredded, John. That guy was fucking ripped. He was making me jealous, man. I have flashbacks of what I used to look like.
He didn't have an ounce on him. Man.
But here's the other thing. Yeah. There's times throughout my career, there's times where I've seen guys that were just as shredded as this guy, and I've noticed that I don't know if it's because you're so lean. You sometimes have a tendency to start to peter out as the fight goes on. Maybe you're just not as hydrated. Maybe you're just not absorbing the nutrients as much as you need to keep.
That's not a horrible thing.
It's not. No. It's not, because you got to look at it too. Like for
it's energy.
Yeah. For a long time, Baroni lived with me, and you see Baroni, right? Explosive, fast power, all these things. His problem was always round 1.5. He just so lean, so shredded, so much muscle on that smaller body. He was a small guy. He wasn't a big guy, 5'9", 5'10", just a lot of muscle. But still, he was always so lean. He ate super clean, that guy. Never ate any real fat. he'd have soba noodles and never ate corn because it had too much natural sugar. Just didn't eat carrots because it had natural sugar. Just he was someone that was so on track with like eating clean and taking care of his body. But we know the other stuff too. But I'm simply saying, he was something that. But he was always a clean eater, always a clean eater. But let's go ahead and get right up into that the lane and what's it?
Evgeny Kardonov.
Gotcha.
And that one was, that one ended off of, dude, he tore his bicep.
Yeah.
You could see that his bicep rolled up, and it was off of falling. He didn't get knocked down on it. It was when he went down and put his arm out, the bicep just popped off of the bone attachment.
So weird.
Like there was a couple of weird ones like that in this night. It was a weird night in a lot of ways. But the Angulo versus
fight of the night.
Jeremiah Riggs.
Fight of the night.
Hello. Did it not remind you a little bit of the old Don Fry Takayama?
It did. I mean, like, it's what a freaking war, man.
But there was a little bit of hair pulling going on.
Well, can someone please tell me what the hell Mike Beltran was watching?
You know what? I've talked to Mike about
this. Oh, jeez. Come on. Let me hear what he had to say.
Mike said, brother, I just fucked up. I go, it's a good answer. As long as you're not going to sit there. And he goes, because he had a single collar tie. He goes, and then all of a sudden I realized, he said, and I go to say, let go of the hair, and let's go back to the single collar tie. He goes, and then I realize, hell, he's pulled the entire knot out of his hair. And I go, Mike, why didn't you say something? He goes, by then Angulo was knocking him out. He goes, I was like, oh my God. He goes, John, he goes, look, I love MMA. He goes, and I'm trying to do this. He goes, it is totally different. And I said, absolutely, it's different. I said, this is a fast sport that just like anything, these guys they're out there and they're moving fast. I go, not quite as many different techniques, but in MMA, when it hits the ground, it does slow down. Even when people are going for stuff, it slows down. I go, here, you got to be on it. He goes, I have to work at this. I really have to work at it. And I just look and say, that's the way to do it. You could
tell he was a little bit more uncomfortable in there than he is in MMA. That's one. Two is that you could tell that the other ref, Dan Murgalata, you could tell he was more comfortable in there.
Absolutely.
He's like, this is like I've been here. I've done this.
Oh, I think he does better with BKFC than he does with MMA. Yeah. I'm not saying he doesn't do a great job with MMA, but the submission game and things like this is tailor-made for Dan.
Yeah. You could tell just the way they felt, like the way that they were acting in the breaks and acting in the footwork and the movement, not a lot of Jason Herzog going on for Dan versus Mike. Mike was doing the dance like Jason Herzog, man.
Oh, Chris Lieben. Chris Lieben was, man, you look and you go, and this is what it looked, and I love Chris. And
he's amazing.
This is a tough spot for him. And he's been doing a great job as a judge, but they asked him to try, because he tried to be an MMA ref, and he goes, no, it's just, I can't do it. It's not.
Why is that?
It's not what people think.
No.
And again, when you have to know the answers and be able to know when people are in trouble and when they're not, it's a lot more than people realize. But again, this is why I say it's not meant for everybody, and that doesn't mean that you can't be a great fighter, but you're not going to be a great ref.
Well, listen,
you could be a great ref and not be a great fighter.
But you can also say, like, look, Herb Dean made a mistake in the Bogdan fight. He got kneed in the groin twice, and then one time the first time he got kneed in the groin.
He put him back in the same place when Ryan Span's the guy that kneed him in the nuts. You take the position away from the offender. You don't give the offender the right to go right back into it.
So it happens.
Yeah,
it happens. Look, when you're calling so many fights in a year. I mean, I'm sure Herb is extremely busy.
Mistakes.
Like you were extremely busy.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you're doing say 4 fights in a night, 6 fights in a night, sometimes more. It depends on where you're at, what promotion.
Well, look at it this way. At the end of your career, how many fights a year were you having?
2.
2 fights a year. Okay. And you got to figure at the end of my career, I was doing, I'm not going to say fight-wise, but show-wise, somewhere in the area of about 110 to 120 shows a year.
Jeez. That's
you
a lot.
figure that's.
Well, you know what's funny is a lot of
sometimes it's 4 in a week. It's just
well,
the
like
way it is.
like for us, we're thinking, he's doing the main event. Well, no, I did 5 fights before that too. You guys didn't catch that, huh? Because they're not the main event. Is that why?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't catch it. John, but the Angulo fight, though, absolutely fantastic. I got a little story to tell you about the Angulo fight, though. I used to train a boxer. His name was Ricardo Cortez. Ricardo's very first loss was to Angulo.
Really?
Yeah, and his dumbass decided to take the Angulo fight literally on fucking like 3 weeks' notice and didn't tell us. Came in, he was in good shape for the fight. He stayed training. But, man, I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, this guy is a killer.
El Perro is just known as just a dog.
Yeah.
That's
why he wears that dog collar when he walks out, too.
He is.
Yeah. I mean, I saw him at the weigh-ins. I was like, man, I know this guy's tough. He doesn't look like much. And then we got in there, and I was like, bro, he's walking through everything Ricardo was touching him with. He's like, don't care. I was like, oh, man, by round 5 or 6, I think he had put Ricardo away. Maybe around 5. But yeah, it was one of those. And he walked out. I go, wait, is that the same Angulo? Because he just looked different, right? His hair was braided up.
Yeah, because he never had long hair.
No, he just looked different. He just looked different in this fight. I was like, oh man, for something like somewhere around his face looked like he was younger. I don't know why he looked younger. Anyways, but man, that was such a
great cool braid that someone did that Mike Beltran allowed to be destroyed.
Ripped out. All right, Ben Rothwell and Todd Duffy. I know these guys' names.
Man, I'll tell you what. Look, Ben is just he's a towering freaking presence. You talk about guys good in MMA, but tailor-made for this. I've thought Ben Rothwell is tailor-made for BKFC. I'm not saying he can't be beat, but you're going to have to put big shots on him and take away a whole lot of what he does well. We talked about this before. I was like, this is going to be a hard fight for Todd Duffy. And you said, and you talked about his speed, and say, well, he's a lot faster than Ben, and you're right, he is. Obviously, pinched something in his neck or something when he went down, and it just wasn't there. And you just look, and it's like Todd's had this kind of career that when he was in MMA, he had flash moments that were just wow. Mm-hmm. And then he had these moments where it just everything just went wrong and didn't look good.
He's just been so up and down since his original stint in the UFC. Ever since he's left the original stint in the UFC, ever since that moment, he left and went to Dream, went to other locations, found his way back into the UFC and then left UFC. Now he's, doing this. And he hasn't been able to really hunker down and kind of just get fight after fight after fight. Health reasons and things like that. So I know he was dealing with a lot of injuries. So this was just another one of those cases, man. Next fight, you've got Hunt versus Terrell. Man,
I'll tell you what. First off, Lorenzo Hunt is fun to watch, and I've watched him in not every one of his BKFC fights, but probably 90% of them. And Lorenzo comes from an MMA background, but he has made a career out of BKFC and being a guy that, is just in there, relaxed, throws winging shots, and he wings shots, but he's got power, and he's taken multiple times. He's going down. His defeat is in the air, and he pulls out this miraculous knockout. He did it against I'm losing my mind. He used to be a 145-pound fighter in Bellator, Mike Richmond. And Richmond is tailor-made for BKFC. He fights it so well. And Richmond now has got like the handlebar mustache and stuff. He's the perfect symbol for the BKFC. But he went up in weight to take on Lorenzo Hunt. They had a hell of a fight. Lorenzo is fun to watch. This is a freak injury. I thought he was going to have a hard time with Mick Terrell. Mick Terrell is a real heavyweight. He's a real bare-knuckle boxer fighter. He goes to the body really well. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time shooting shots at your head. When it's open, he'll take it, but he hits the body until he breaks you down, and then he knocks you out. He's the champion. Lorenzo Hunt is a 2-division champion with BKFC. Was trying to become a 3-division. Every time someone goes for that 3rd division, Josh, it's like Drake betting on you. Okay, it's just bad news.
Oh man.
It's just
I
bad
thought
news.
I thought the third division was a charm. Apparently not.
Man,
No
I'll
one
tell
can
you
seem
what,
to grasp
every
it.
time. No, man. It's like you're going for what? Third? No, you're done.
No, the arm thing reminded me of the Henzo Gracie Sakuraba,
Yeah.
Kimura elbow coming out kind of thing.
It
But,
kind of, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Shogun.
that's
Going
right.
up with Mark Coleman,
Yep.
and he posted out. Well, Lorenzo tried to post, but his brain was rattled,
Mm-hmm.
no doubt about it, and his hand kind of got caught up behind him, and that's what really caused
Oh, it was nasty.
the dislocation. But he dislocated his arm, and it is what it is.
What do you think? Do you think we
But
see Ben Rothwell and Terrell next?
That's what it should be, no doubt, no doubt. Look at Ben Rothwell. You're sitting there talking about performance and stuff. He went out there and performed.
Yeah,
He did his job.
absolutely. I mean, especially with
I
all
think
the stuff he had to deal with at the presser, and then Hunt taking over his spot, trying to talk trash. Like, yeah, I'm the A side, I'm the 2-division champ, I'm this, I'm that, and Terrell's just like, he kept this cool. He even got pushed in the
Yeah, he
head by
did.
Hunt. I mean, those are things that, like, as a fighter, to keep your composure like that, it says a lot about you as a champion, man. Good for him.
Yeah, it does.
Came out,
he's
delivered a
good.
great performance. Tiago Alves
And
versus,
then
go ahead, Platinum Mike Perry.
the Platinum Man. Look, it's one of those things. I love the fact that Mike Perry has found something that was made for him. I mean, this is Mike Perry. This sport is a Mike Perry sport. Thiago Alves is a tough dude, and he is a good fighter. And he was a good fighter when he was in the UFC, and he did retire after this fight. But he put a good shot on Perry. Perry didn't even move.
Yeah.
Didn't even move, and just stepped forward and crack, and there goes Thiago. He's going down, and I was surprised by how hurt. I mean, he got hit good, but you could see right away when he goes down, he is not doing well, and he got counted out. In that fight, I mean, what do you say? Mike Perry has found his home. He's great for BKFC, and they're great for him. And now he's got a new boss in Conor McGregor.
John, I got to be honest, man. There's one fight that I want to see. There's actually two. I want to see Mike Perry fight. Two guys.
Well, who's that?
I want to see him fight Sabah Homasi, or I want to see him fight Paul Daly.
Paul Daly.
Those two guys right now, I would love to see him fight those guys.
Paul Daly would be one hell of a fight.
I mean, look, Sabah actually was, I saw today Sabah was actually trying to call him out going, hey, I think I'm built for this. Let's go ahead and see and let's test it out.
He might be built for this. Let's be honest. Sabah will sit there. The other guy who would be really fun at this, Brendan Ward.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Thinking the same
Brendan Ward's
exact thing.
tailor-made for this.
Yep.
Yeah. He will stand there and crack. He would be awesome at it.
Who else? Like, who else in your mind? Who else could we think of that would be cut out for something like this? I mean, those are the top three guys that I come across my mind. I'm like, man, that would be so action packed to see these guys fight. I mean, I would say if it was a younger version of Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I don't want to see.
No, I don't want to see him either. But I'm simply saying, like,
now, but yeah,
a younger version of Lawler would have been so fun. I mean, like if I could rewind in time, I'd go back to Nick Diaz.
Oh, I think Nick and Nate, when they're younger years, would do fantastic at this.
Yeah.
The only problem, with Nick is he's got a lot of scar tissue around his eyes,
true.
and he would cut up. That happened with gloves with MMA, and but I mean, Nick and Nate both would be fantastic at it.
Yeah, I look at those guys. But look, Sabah Homasi's looking to make that step over. I mean, that to me is
Good for Sabah.
Yeah, throw Sabah in there. I'd like to see that fight. Someone's going to get slept in that fight for sure. And then obviously Paul Daly, if we can get Paul Daly out of retirement. I doubt we can, but definitely a fun fight there as well. Who else would be over there? We could probably think of, off the top of our head. That's it. That's pretty much it. Brendan Ward, obviously. You got Brendan Ward. You got Sabah Homasi. Let's start with those three guys. Let's see if we can get one of those guys to come on over.
I'll tell you what, who would be actually really good at it. You want to go across the pond there? How about Brian Moore? Little Irishman Brian Moore. Look, he always loses because of getting taken down and just controlled on the ground. he would be really good at bare knuckle. I think he'd be outstanding at it. He's my little Irish Canelo.
What was the other guy? They used to call him One Punch Pikey. What was his name? Drew Pickett. Not Drew Pickett.
Oh, Drew Pickett.
Was it Drew Pickett?
No. Drew Pickett was from Arizona.
No. Who? Oh God. They called him the Pickett Pikey or whatever it was, right? What was his name? He always used to stand like this.
I don't know. Charlie Ward would be fun.
Yes, Charlie Ward would be fun.
Charlie Ward is tailor-made.
Oh, he would be. That's maybe a good fight right there. Charlie Ward, he's 170, 185, 170, somewhere in there.
185.
No, remember they used to call him the One Punch Pikey, or they call him the Pikey. He used to fight in the WEC, I believe, and then he came over to the UFC, I think, for a little bit. He was fun. Small guy, 145, 135, somewhere around there, I believe. George, do some research.
George,
Brad
do some
Pickett.
research.
Brad Pickett.
Oh, Brad Pickett.
Yes.
Yeah.
He would have been fun at that weight class. Yeah, yes,
Brad's great,
Brad
man. I
Pickett.
love it. He always had the hat.
Man, he had the hat, and the nose was always a little off. But, man, there's a lot of throwback fighters we would love to have seen.
Dude, in fact, that Brad Pickett, see, I like it, multiple times I refereed it, but the only fight I ever refereed of Uriah Favors was his fight against Brad Pickett. So
Pickett was fun, man. I remember watching him.
Oh, dude, he was a gamer.
I cornered Phil Baroni in what was it? Was it called Super Brawl? Something. He was in the
Super
UK.
Brawl was in Hawaii.
Cage Warriors. Maybe it was Cage Warriors. What's Cage Warriors? Yellow and black.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I cornered him in Cage Warriors. It was me and Mark Coleman cornered Baroni out there. He fought some guy named Scott Jansen, and Baroni knocked him out in the first round. And then.
Oh yeah, but that, you know what? I used that fight in my course. I used to use that fight.
Why?
Because the referee stood Phil Baroni up out of mount.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just got to mount.
I know. I was fucking livid, John. You didn't see me in the corner flipping the fuck out.
Yeah.
I was. What are you doing?
I always looked at that as, you know, he was so partial towards
so
Jansen, and it was, you know, and I always just say, you know, look, this is what happens when you have someone that has no idea either what they're looking at or they are absolutely corrupt, you know. And I said, but what really happened was the referee knew that Phil Baroni was just going to come in and knock him out, and because Phil knocked him out,
Like
a couple seconds later, bip, yeah, starched him. But yeah, I remember that fight.
Yeah, me and Mark Coleman, we almost got in another fight right in the center of the cage because fucking Jansen's brother hit Baroni in the back of the head right after that. Really? Jumped over the thing, fucking punched Baroni in the back of the head. And Phil looked at me, he's like, "Yeah, motherfucker," grabbed his nutsack and it's like, "Come get some." And then Coleman and I went after the other guys, and then the security came in and broke us all up. Anyways,
Cage Rage 27.
Cage Rage. Sorry, not Cage Warriors. Cage Rage. That's right. Anyways, all right. Hey, that's going to wrap up our show for today. But, man, there was a lot of great action-packed fights. I feel like, John, I got to be honest, man, BKFC's on to something. Big news, big stuff going on. They're building this thing up.
Hell, Mario Lopez is on their damn broadcast now.
I don't want to give too much credence to that.
Slater.
Slater is it, right? That is
Slater,
right.
Man, come on.
This is bare knuckle, man. This ain't high school wrestling. Come on, Slater.
He's on Entertainment Tonight.
He is. He's still a good looking dude, man. He's only about 5'6".
Do you see how you just changed?
Yeah, that's all right.
The entire complex of what I was.
John,
talking about?
he's like what, 5'5", 5'6"?
I don't know.
I mean, you've never seen him. You've never met him.
No, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's tiny.
Yeah,
he was actually good friends with my agent, Dwayne Zinkin. He was good friends with him, and so they knew each other from the Saved by the Bell days. Yeah, so.
Yeah, see, Saved by the Bell is Zach.
Yes.
He used to train at my gym.
Okay. Was he a nice guy?
Mark, he's a great guy.
Okay.
Great guy. Yeah, really good guy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
And what was the one? The one girl was cute as hell.
Kelly something.
I can't remember her name. Yeah.
I think, or maybe that was her name on the show.
It was Kelly on the show.
Oh, whatever. I don't know what her name is. I never really cared. I was never a big TV guy as a kid. I used to, when I was a young kid, I used to watch He-Man. That was like the only thing I'd watch. That and some Scooby-Doo. That was it.
Scooby-Doo was good.
was, yeah, because they were always fucking getting high and eating candy. That's what they were doing.
Scooby snacks.
Yeah, Scooby snacks. They were.
That's what I looked.
What do you think they did in that green van? In the mystery van, they were smoking weed. That's what they were doing, and then they were fucking.
That's why the smoke was always.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and they were having Scooby snacks. Scooby snacks meant they were just snacking after they got high. That's what it was. Fucking bunch of fucking hippies. That's what they were.
And they would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, right. That's that little bit at the end, and they would have got away with it if it was you. Yeah. Anyways, good call there, George. Good job. I'm surprised you know that because you're only 24 years old.
4?
Yeah, I'm a baby.
Dude, the fact that he's 24.
Gosh, I probably got some kids running around about your age.
I
probably
do. They're a lot older than you.
Yeah, fuck. Oh, it's great. All right, guys. Hey, that's gonna wrap up our show today. I think we just gave you 2 hours. Holy cow!
Damn near.
There was a lot of John story time, Josh story time mixed into all this.
I apologize.
No, man, this is what they come for. Look, guys, this is just fun. John and I get on some rolls sometimes, and this is how the show turns out. So if you guys enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much. Thumbs up and the bell for notifications. And I want to thank you guys again for always supporting us. Also, down in the descriptions, there is the Element link. You guys, when you guys purchase something, every time you purchase something from Element, stay salty, you guys. What's going to happen is they're going to send you guys off a free packet of some of their newest flavors or whatever their special is for that month. And you can only get that through our link down below. Hit that link. I'm telling you guys right now, it's amazing. You're going to change how you guys go about your day. It's awesome. No reason to double up on the coffee like I was doing from before. I get up in the morning now, I'll drink at least a liter or 2 liters of that. Feeling better throughout the day. Get my workout in around 9 a.m. And then I'll probably sip on some throughout the day right after my workout. And then I feel good, man. It makes me feel a lot better. I feel hydrated throughout the day. Like I said, no sugar in it. It's a lot healthier version. So if you're drinking liquid IV, get rid of that stuff. Jump on the bandwagon.
Use the link every time you order.
Yeah, every time you order, that's the biggest thing. Every time you order, they will send you over another care package of whatever is available that month. So check it out, man. It's also they got some chocolate that you can mix in with your coffee as well, some different types of flavors. So check out all their flavors, man. Enjoy it. John, take us away, buddy.
For everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed. We enjoyed just talking our asses off. We will see you.